For hundreds of years, thousands of bizarre disappearances have been happening in the wilderness worldwide. Tonight, we will explore the baffling cases of missing hikers, backpackers, campers, and most bizarre, even experienced hunters with years of experience in the wilderness. Tonight, we will look at the wilderness mysteries. On March the 14th, 2014, at 8:30 a.m., Dr. McGrogan and 3 friends started their hike up the Iceman Trail. Dr. McGrogan and his friends had been looking forward to this trip for quite some time. However, little did anyone know this trip would culminate into a mystery that would baffle and puzzle people for years to come. Dr. McGrogan was quite an athlete. He actually was a marathon runner, and he was in peak condition, so he was no stranger to the outdoors. A man in great shape. What could possibly go wrong? At approximately 10 a.m., the men decided to take a break, but Dr. McGrogan preferred to go on. After all, he was an athlete. He was a marathon runner. He decided to go on and meet them further up the trail. Now, in Dave Paulides' books, The Missing 411, this is what Dave Paulides calls the point of separation. It is at this point of separation that people usually go missing. This would be the last time that any of them would see Dr. McGrogan. After attempting to catch up with Dr. McGrogan and checking all the meeting spots along the trail that they had pre-designated, it was clear that something was wrong. Dr. McGrogan could not be found, and at 5:30 p.m., they finally decided to call the authorities. As in all of Dave Paulides' cases in his missing 411 books, search and rescue used everything at their disposal to find Dr. McGrogan. They brought in sniffer dogs, forward-seeking infrared radar-equipped helicopters, but it was to no avail. They did not find Dr. McGrogan. Initially, they did find his backpack and his ski and snowboards. Based on finding Dr. McGrogan's pack on Iceman Trail, it was concluded that that was his last known location, as he had been on Iceman Trail earlier. However, search and rescue, as I said earlier, was not able to find any traces of Dr. McGrogan. It is important to note that Dr. McGrogan was a very intelligent man and very well prepared, as he had been out in the wilderness before. This is a list of some of the items that he carried in his pack: a GPS tracker, a cell phone, a first aid kit, extra food and water. Additionally, he had been known to carry extra batteries as well. Dr. McGrogan was simply prepared for the worst. Another key point that has been brought up by Dave Paulides in his Missing 411 series is that sometime during the search and rescue effort, bad weather sets in and causes the search to be called off. Sometimes it happens in the beginning when the person is first missing, sometimes it happens during the search, or shortly after the search. No one is really sure why this phenomenon happens, but it is a fact that it does happen in these cases. Now we will fast forward 20 days later. A couple of hikers in the Booth Creek Falls area located Dr. McGrogan's body. Interestingly, he was wearing black leggings, a shirt, an undershirt, and gray socks. However, his boots were missing, among other items. Although his shoes, gloves, and coat were missing, he was still wearing his helmet, and he still carried his cell phone and GPS tracker. There would be one aspect of this case, well, one of many, that would puzzle and confuse people, as well as accentuate the mystery, which would be discovered by the coroner shortly. The coroner found the following after removing Dr. McGrogan's helmet. He had apparently suffered a head injury, had a broken femur, an injury to the left side of his chest, and they found signs of animal predation, which must have occurred sometime after Dr. McGrogan's body had ended up at Booth Creek Falls. It's important to understand the highly unusual circumstances regarding the area in which his body was found. The distance over extremely difficult and hazardous terrain between Iceman Trail and Booth Creek Falls. Indeed, this is one of the major aspects of this case that makes it highly unusual, very strange, and downright unnerving. On the surface, there are some that would say Dr. McGrogan simply became disoriented and wandered off trail, and that's how he ended up all the way over to Booth Creek Falls. But we're going to see in a minute why that just simply could not be possible. On the following map, we will examine the difficulty of the terrain between Iceman Trail and Booth Creek Falls. That would make it not impossible, but highly unlikely and highly improbable that Dr. McGrogan just simply walked from one destination to the next. For starters, in order for Dr. McGrogan to have hiked to Booth Creek Falls, he would have had to first go off trail. Second, he would have had to immediately face a 1,300-foot ridge, ascent or climb, and then an 11,000-foot mountain ascent. Please keep in mind that this is the dead of winter, and Dr. McGrogan would then have had to make another 1,000-foot descent to the next valley below and cross Rattle Creek, a treacherous river to cross at this time of year. As you look at the map, please note that the winter trail to Iceman Hut is clearly marked by the arrow, and if you look across the topography to Booth Creek Falls, which is indicated on the yellow dot, you can clearly see the mountainous terrain that we are discussing in between. Let's continue. Next, Dr. McGrogan would have had another highly treacherous 1,300-foot climb to the next ridgeline. Ahead of him, he would have then had to ascend to the 12,000-foot height of Bald Mountain. Finally and tragically, Dr. McGrogan would have faced another dangerous descent to a lower summit before another 1,130-foot final descent to Booth Creek Falls, where he tragically was found deceased. It is important to note also that this was during the winter months, and a lot of these mountain passes were treacherous, especially due to avalanche conditions. So now let's examine this one more time. In summary, another important note, Dr. McGrogan would have had to have done all of this with no climbing experience or climbing gear. No snowboard, no ski gear. His boots were never found. This was in winter and with 30-foot snow drifts and, as before mentioned, avalanche conditions. How does a man with no climbing equipment, no boots, no gear to speak of, just simply walk across such treacherous terrain? Again, highly unlikely and highly improbable. Interestingly enough, the press release stated that it was a 4.5-mile hike from Eastman Hut Trail to Booth Creek. However, those were air miles, which the press neglected to mention. The actual ground distance was more like 15 miles. So, how does a man walk this far across such terrain without boots? Could he have done it barefoot? Very, very unlikely, and pretty much downright impossible. Another important aspect of this case is that it would have taken Dr. McGrogan multiple days to complete such a dangerous and very, very unnecessary journey. It is important to note that although they did not receive some of the gear rented to Dr. McGrogan, the equipment rental company in Denver stated that they mourned the loss of Dr. McGrogan. Interestingly, they found it extremely odd for him to have taken such a dangerous hike, especially given the topography and terrain between both destinations, and the lack of Dr. McGrogan's footwear, which is one of the key elements in many of these missing persons cases. The unexplained disappearance of Dr. McGrogan and his subsequent passing is highly unusual. and is definitely one of the enduring wilderness mysteries that will be examined for decades to come. It is truly a tragic event, most unfortunate, and very heartbreaking. So what really happened to Dr. McGrogan on that trail on that winter day? Perhaps we may never find the answer. However, we do wish to take a moment to give Dr. McGrogan the respect that he deserves. And we want to say prayers for him and his family. May they someday find peace. May they someday find closure and an answer to this enduring mystery. I'm very grateful and thankful to God for having such wonderful subscribers and friends who have supported me through all of these videos and more. Thank you so much, and I really love you and appreciate you. And for those of you who are just watching, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button. Thank you, and God bless you, and have a wonderful night.